I am Kyle Fay. How do you?
Are you in charge here?
Isn't it
It is. Brittany should be good at
I'm
that.
Melissa Zapkwitz.
I'm Misty Kepler.
Brittany Grove.
Chelsea Krepkor.
Okay, nonverbal communication is messages expressed by non-linguistic means. There's a lot of confusion between nonverbal communication and communication without words because it can include words. It's just the difference of what you're saying and how you're saying it. And nonverbal communication is very ambiguous. It all depends on the context of the situation you're in. And there's a ton of different types. So some of them are the face and eyes, there's the facial expressions and the eye contact you make, whether you're gazing or glancing at someone. And then body movement, it's the posture and gestures you have, and then the physical orientation you have towards the others, like if you're facing them or facing away. And then touch, like hugs or a touch on someone's arm. And in studies it shows that people who do use those touches are viewed more positively by others. And then voice, that's all, the vocal rate, pronunciation, pitch, tone, volume, emphasis on different words, sarcasm, and different pauses and disfluencies like or And then distance, it's the personal space, how far you stand away from other people. And then that varies a lot by culture and also the different relationships you have with the people you're talking to. And time is also nonverbal communication, when you show up for like an appointment or if you're late or on time. And that depends on culture too, or where you live. Like in New York, you would never show up to a party on time. You're always going to show up on late. But in Utah, everyone shows up either early or on time. And then physical attractiveness, it has a lot of effect on interaction between people, and people who are more attractive are viewed to have better communication skills. And then clothing, it conveys a lot of messages to others, non-verbally, economic level, educational level. A lot of the colors, like if you're wearing black, you're shown to be more aggressive, or white, more pure. And then lastly, physical environment, like your house, where you live, says a lot about you. The different decorating schemes says a lot about the personality of yourself.
As it turns out, nonverbal communication accounts for 93% of our conversation. The tone of our voice is 38%, and body language accounts for 55% of what we are saying. These numbers can vary according to the situation and what is being said. For instance, if you were talking on the phone, it wouldn't be the same as if you're talking to someone in person, because you couldn't use your body movements to express what you're saying.
When on a date, small talk alone isn't enough to know if someone is into you. A smile is always a good nonverbal sign that your date is going well. Other signs include prolonged eye contact, dilated pupils, the eyebrow lift, a whispered tone, relaxed posture, and physical contact. Crossed arms and legs are also indicators that a date is going poorly. Another sign that a date is going bad is that they're looking at everything except you. Other nonverbal indicators that a date is going bad are awkward pauses when you're talking, distance between the person, silences, side hugging instead of a normal big hug, and handshaking. People don't always realize that they're giving these signals off, so it's important to be conscious of what you're doing when you're not speaking. This next segment we're going to show shows how nonverbal gestures can be interpreted.
Alright, so these were just a few examples of nonverbal gestures that are used a lot today. And so next we're going to talk about the commonly accepted meanings for the gestures that we just saw. The thumbs up in America means good, okay, and also in some other countries in Northern Europe it also has the same meaning as here. But in other countries, like Greece and Sardinia, it's actually a sexual insult. And it's also for hitchhiking. But there's also a myth that it started in the Roman arenas with gladiators, that if somebody had the thumbs up, it meant, like the audience gave a thumbs up, that they would get killed off, and if the thumbs down, then they would be spared. That's actually just a myth. There's no proof that that is right. And so we don't really know exactly the origin of that. Leaning in, it shows interest in the speakers. It says that I'm paying attention. And then if you look closely, if they have dilated pupils, it indicates interest and focused. When you check your watch, which could also be your clock or a phone, It's very easy to misinterpret. Commonly, it means boredom, impatient, not wanting to be at the current location, uninterested. But it's very dependent on other factors, such as your word, tone of voice, body, posture, and other nonverbal cues, like a lot of the people in the video said it. It's a combination of a lot of things. But the person could just be on a time crunch. Raised eyebrows generally means surprised, and the opening of the eyes get bigger, and that could indicate that perhaps the person is trying to see more clearly what is going on, and it asks for attention and an answer to a question, and it indicates openness. A wink, it often suggests conveying a message, signal, or suggestion between two people without saying anything. So if you wink at somebody, it's saying, like, we understand, other people don't. It can also be slightly suggestive, reminiscent of a small wave, like, hello there, gorgeous. And arms crossed is protective or a separating barrier. It can indicate animosity, concern, boredom, or just too tired. It's commonly exhibited by subordinates when feeling threatened by authoritative figures, like if your boss is lecturing you, you'll cross your arms. But don't mistake it with being cold, because that could very well be the reason. If they have clenched fists, it's hostile. And it's a defense mechanism, it's not open, and the person is stubborn in their outlook. Shaking of legs usually means nervousness or apprehension, or they might just need to go to the bathroom. And if it's just the jiggling of the foot, it says, I'm bored. So when somebody's seated with legs crossed and one foot bouncing in the air, it means that they are bored. And finally, the eye touch. It actually is a nonverbal gesture. It's just not really used anymore, so nobody really knew exactly what it meant. But it indicated deception. And this is just an example of how nonverbal communication is always changing in every society, and it means different things to different people. And so this next segment shows how much nonverbal communication affects aspects of everyday life.
And then the last part was just to show how important nonverbal communication is, not only in conversations or in relationships, but in basically every single aspect of your life. For instance, Professor Dale said that he will definitely gauge indicators from the students of how well a lecture is going, and he will use that information to, like, for instance, if a one part of the lecture is making the students go to sleep or not be engaged in the lecture, then he will take that out next time or something like that. And in sports, nonverbal communication is so important because you use it to gauge how well you are doing, how your coaches think you're doing, and you need to know certain signals from the refs and from your other players that you just need to know the gestures and stuff and what they mean, and that's huge. And also during like police investigations, nonverbal communication is huge because when they're interviewing a suspect or something, they definitely listen to the words that they're saying, but they focus in on a lot of what their body language is telling them. Like for instance, if someone's telling them they did not do a crime, but they're acting really nervous, they're shifting their eyes, they're looking away, then the investigators will use this as an indicator that their story and their body language are not matching up, and they might need to investigate further. And also a pet owner, basically being a pet owner is 100% nonverbal communication because there's no talking involved, well, unless you talk to your parent animals like I do. But, but for instance, like if a dog is sitting by the door looking out constantly or something, you might take that nonverbal gesture that they have to go to the bathroom. And when an animal does something well, how do you make it know that it did good and that it should do this again? You pet it or give it some reinforcement, encouragement, and that is all nonverbal. And so this presentation was mainly just to show how important nonverbal communication is in not only like conversation and relationships and dates and stuff, but also just widespread. And also it just showed how hard and how fickle it is to understand a nonverbal communication, because it's always changing with culture and time, and also because it's just you have to take everything else into context to really understand what they're trying to convey. And that is our presentation, and thank you very much.
Thank you. 3 questions, and then I will let them sit down from the group. Dun, 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 dun. Questions?
Who's grandma? What? Whose grandma was it?
Grandma.
Not even pretty insightful. What else? What? Always ends up being me. Were you interested in how, kind of aware some of the people were about those? And that they really did have some insight into the body
Yeah, I
language?
guess that when you're like actually like talking to somebody or having a conversation with someone, you don't think that if you're crossing their arms, they're gonna take it the wrong way, or if you're doing something like that, they're gonna take it how it actually means according to these definitions. But I guess it just kind of shows that people are actually picking up on this, and what you do is really important beyond the communication.
And it was really interesting, just the first question, we tried to make it show how like people really don't understand how important it is, because some people would say 15% of the conversation, and some people would say 90%.
Yeah.
But it was kind of interesting just to see like, because the people that tended to say it was higher seemed to like understand more about their movements and were more cautious and stuff like that. And the other people just seemed like they didn't really understand more. So it was like some people were more in tune than others.
Yeah, it's really interesting too to see how everybody, each individual interprets things so much differently from the next person. It's the same exact gesture, and just how much it depends on what else is going on, the tone of voice, your posture, you know, just the words you're saying, how it all just comes into play.
It is interesting because it is so ambiguous. You know, there just are so many different interpretations for the same gesture, but so important. I mean, you really can't understand your relationships unless you do get the messages from them. You know, because a lot of people want to send how they feel about the person non-verbally. What about that? How do you know when a date is going badly? Ever have a date go badly? No.
Just awkwardness, I guess.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that can make it awkward.